Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody this morning? You ready for some NFL? What a fucking day I had yesterday. Oh my God. All five locks win. Arizona State was a lock. I just missed the mark button. So I had them played with two teasers, but they were intended to be a lock. I have a lock circled in my thing. So my five locks were Baylor, Kansas over, easy. Arizona State -2, easy. Notre Dame -1, easy. Indiana -22, win 66-0, and Oregon -12 in the double revenge game that I kept bringing up, and they won 49-21, easily covering 12. You got to look for all the factors when you're looking for reasons to bet. And this is where AI will never, ever, ever, ever be able to do that. So we hit that. I mean, it was a really easy day. I mean, I started off with South Carolina as a dog. They were very good, getting 9. They came back at the end, but they were only down 7. We were getting 9. I like Duke, but I preferred them as a dog. I didn't play them. They still won. North Texas against Temple. I play North Texas. -4. They win by 7. We don't care. Michigan, Ohio State. That was like the not free play, so they would win. But that was kind of the free play. And I had mentioned that I played the under in it, if you were listening. 13-10 game. I don't know what the fuck that was. But again, I was scared to lay the points in that series. It's a dog series. The correct play, obviously, now should have been Michigan getting 24 points. However, I did play it under 49, and it was never close. I was just hoping it didn't go to overtime, and I get fucked by having 4 touchdowns in overtime. So I was happy when he made the kick, and it was 13-10, and it wasn't going to overtime. But again, that was Ohio State with the 10 defense, and Michigan, even though it's a 21 defense, it's better than that. And in this game, and I got a sense that Will Howard's not as good as we think he is, where he was better at Kansas State on that offense. He really choked a lot and made some bad reads and bad throws. So even without Michigan's All-American cornerback, they had no problem. Why am I turning black here? Okay. Oh, not plugged in. Yeah, there we go. All right. Anyway, Tennessee Vanderbilt. I didn't play Vanderbilt in 17, but I liked them, and of course they covered. UTS Army. I don't know how I won. I looked at the score at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It was like 14-13 UTSA. I go, well, that's going to be a loser. And then I see 29-24. I have over because I don't trust. I love UTSA, but I don't, Army's got this killer defense, I thought, and they were going to run the ball. And, I wouldn't get a lot of time. So I stayed away from the dog, but I liked UTSA as a dog. And I played over because Army's been scoring. And UTSA's been hot. So I end up going over 47, and they play at 29-24, which is a 53, which that covers. And I had that with Texas State from Friday night, so 13-1. Let's see. Florida State. I don't know the score on that one. I did like Florida, but I thought the points got a little high. Kansas Baylor. I love the game. Kansas scored every time on Colorado, and Baylor scores every time. So I didn't want to take Kansas in the game. I love the over at 60, and they played like an 85 or something. So that was, as soon as I saw that, that was the lock. West Virginia, Texas Tech. I didn't lock it, but I could have. They played an 80-point game, and Texas Tech won big, and they covered over 59. So the overs. This is why I love the Big 12 overs. BYU, Houston. I don't know what happened in that game. I haven't seen that one. Troy, Southern Miss. I fuck up. I don't play Troy. I'm just betting against Southern Miss, and they were laying 11. They won by 50. So everybody has fun when it's Southern Miss on their schedule. But that's what you look for, that very weak team. And there's weak teams in the pros. And you look, and that's, you just bet against them. We'll get to those. Let's see. North Carolina State. Alex does have like the over in the game. North Carolina State wins, so I don't know that they played for Mac Brown or not, but they didn't win the game. However, I do believe it did go over. I think it was 35-30. So it was a good call, Alex, on the over. Not so good on North Carolina winning for the coach. I was surprised NC State won. Miami, Syracuse, I have over 61. They score. It was an 80-some point game. I knew that was going to come because Miami doesn't have that strong a defense. Syracuse, see, this is where you watch. Syracuse beat Vegas 44-40 earlier in the year. If you can put up 44 on Vegas, you're putting up 44 on Miami, especially at home, especially on senior day. So I had that game over, easy winner. Penn State, when Ohio State loses, should have been a lock, but I was out. But once Ohio State lost, now Penn State needs it to go win the Big Ten and go to the thing and to go to the playoffs. They can't lose to Maryland, and they kill them. Arizona State, this was a lock. Arizona State had to win. I think they're in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State next week, I believe. I read something, so I don't know who it is, but I thought it was Arizona State and Iowa State. I know Iowa State's in. Morning, G. Yeah, you liked it. I thought you'd like it. Do you have any open pro, or did you do your 7-team parlay in just college? So if it's just college, you've won a lot of money. If it's in the pro with the 2 locks, we'll get you home today. But yeah, I loved it. My little voice told me, you're going to run the table, and I ran the fucking table. So Arizona State needed the game. Arizona's terrible this year. The coach is not very good. And Arizona State, this was a big revenge game. Arizona beat them like 62-0 last year. So I knew Arizona State was going to win, and they just pounded them. It was like 47-7. Notre Dame SC, that was lock number 3. I love Notre Dame. As soon as I saw Notre Dame -1, they beat the Army. If you beat the Army, you're going to beat USC. USC did open up the offense more with Maivia, but Notre Dame was really never in doubt. It got within 7, and they would come back, and then they got these pick sixes. And I really bet Notre Dame's defense, even though they gave up 35 points, but they did have 2 pick sixes. So that was lock number 3. So it was Kansas over, Arizona State, must win, revenge game, Notre Dame, must win, strong defense. Here's where you get that playoff aspect. They had to win the game, and USC is not very good this year. They lost to Michigan. How good can they be? Alabama does beat Auburn 28-14. They barely cover. Milrose, 3 more turnovers. Guy sucks. And what else can you say? Auburn just doesn't have a quarterback. So I thought Alabama would play a good game. But, I don't know. They're shaky. So they did play a good game, but they're out of it. Tennessee won, Mississippi won, Georgia won, so they're not going in the playoff. SMU, Cal. I don't have that one, so let's not talk about that. Then we get to the night games. Indiana -28, Purdue's a Z team. Indiana just lost to Ohio State, wants to get in the playoff. They have to win and win big, 66-0. We're laying 22. That was lock number 4, and that was a big lock. LSU beats Oklahoma. As I said, Oklahoma would be flatter than shit, and they were. Fifth lock is Oregon, -12 against Washington. I told you double revenge. Their number one team, and they blew them out 49-21. And again, senior night. And not that Dylan Gabriel's only been there a year, but they blew them out. So 5 locks, 5 winners. Really, it was nice. Very, very little sweat. I looked at Baylor at halftime, and they were already there. I think I needed 1 touchdown at half. Arizona State, I see the score 49-7. Notre Dame's up 14. I'm watching a movie or something at night. I just need a break, and I flip on Indiana, 66-0. I don't have to do math because they cover 22, and then Oregon 49-21. So very nice, very easy. I thought the week before I was a little too risky on my locks with Texas State and Alabama over Oklahoma. This was a better week to lock Alabama after the loss, but these locks were very easy and very strong. I had Baylor in a double lock, and they're in a 37-unit lock. That's how much I like Baylor. Vegas beats Nevada. They're in the championship game against Boise. And I don't know what happened with the others. I haven't gotten those scores. I've been looking at the pros. So yesterday, I go 12-1. The only loser I have is TCU Cincinnati over. They don't play it, and I was worried about it, and it was a very small bet, late in the afternoon. I played him with New Mexico over, just very small, and it was just a beautiful day. I mean, Ohio State staying under, and South Carolina got me off, and then Kansas over by halftime. I mean, yeah, I wish they were all that easy. So hope Titus made some money. I told Titus, sell the picks, just give me half, give me my part. Now they'll be coming to him. He'll have a line. Titus, he'll put a little desk at Caesars. Yep. Okay, who do you want? I have run pro. I put with the college locks. Well, I know which one it is, I'd imagine. So, yep. And I really, and that was as soon as I saw it, I know they're always over, and the other team, they'll because they don't have a good defense, so it's a good over. All right, let's go through the line here. What was I gonna say about one of the games? Again, you're looking at need. That's why I point out who needed the game for the playoff. Penn State, Ohio State, but Michigan's going to, that's where you got to be careful in the rivalry. But you had, once Ohio State lost, it was all Penn State and Indiana at that point because they had to win. Penn State's going to be in the Big Ten championship against Oregon. They'll get killed. I would have liked to have seen Indiana and Oregon, but that's going to help Indiana because Penn State's going to have 2 losses. Ohio State has 2 losses. Indiana has 1 loss. And now Indiana, they had a weak schedule. Wait a minute. They beat Michigan, who just beat Ohio State. Is Indiana a little stronger now that that Ohio State lost to Michigan and they beat Michigan? Yeah, that makes Indiana look a whole lot better. So anyway, I liked Indiana. I think they got fucked in the Ohio State game. The punter dropping the ball with a minute left in the half. I mean, that's great. And then a punt return. Ohio State didn't score. That was the key to the under. They didn't really score on Indiana. They didn't score on Penn State. And they didn't really score on Nebraska. And when you have all those 3, Michigan, not much offense and a good defense. So that's what you look for in an under team. Not a great offense and a killer defense. That's what we look. I was going to talk about the Z teams. Let's go through the pros. So the Giants are a Z team. I haven't even filled in the scores yet. Well, who cares? The Giants are a Z team. Dallas was, but they switched quarterbacks, and now they're back to an E team, I think. Oakland was a Z team. New England's a W. Tennessee's a Z team. Jacksonville's a Z team. Carolina's a Z team. Now, I'm very relevant on the quarterbacks switching and stuff like that. So now, like New England got a little better with Drake May. He does score more. He's still terrible, but he scores more. Tennessee, Levis played a little bit better, beating Houston last week, so we'll give him a little respect there. Jacksonville, I don't know if Lawrence, I think he's playing. Who cares? He sucks. Houston, they suck. They lost at home to Tennessee, so I don't know why they're favored in this game. Carolina's a Z team, but Steve Young scored more last week. Didn't they win last week, I think? What was Carolina? No, they lost to KC 30-27. Now, did KC not come to play? I don't know. But Carolina scored. So in my mind, I'm keeping that separate. So when I see Tampa Bay and I see Carolina, they still have a 31 defense. Okay, maybe they scored more. The coach admits, well, we just ran screen passes for Steve Young. Why? He's there 2 years now. He's the number one pick, and you're not running normal plays yet? Fuck, what's the coach doing? And that's really it. Cleveland's kind of a W team with Winston. They're scoring more, so they're probably more of an E team, and they got Chubb back. So let's go through the line. We've got the JETSs, 141.5 to Seattle. They're both under teams, both 22 defenses. Smith against Rodgers. Play against the Jets are 10-1 this year. So I'm going to give you the teaser trends if there is. And try to be just this year because, they weren't there last year. Cincinnati, 346.5 to Pittsburgh. 346. Pitt's the A team with Russell Wilson. They looking good. 17 defense. Cincinnati is an over team. Joe Burrow and Chase. We know they're over. We know they're going to score. 27 defense. So Russell Wilson should have a good day. We know Joe Burrow is going to have a good day, even though it's Pittsburgh 17 defense. He showed you against San Diego. He scored a lot. So I'm not that concerned. They are at home. Not snowing, not too cold. I did check weather. I don't see any weather issues. Indy, 2.5, 42.5 to New England. Indy's an under team with a 23 with Richardson. New England's a W team with the 24 with Drake May. So I think in the average, they're a W. I think they're getting more like an E team. I think they're starting to score. He's thrown for 10 touchdowns. So he's putting points on the board. They're not winning, but he's scoring more. And their defense, 24. Indy, 23 defense at New England. I don't see weather being a concern here. So, I don't know. Why is Indy favored? But I can't trust Drake May. So it's one of those games where, like, the Indies, the Houstons, the Tennessees, the Jacksonvilles, the New England, you have no idea. Washington is now 6.5, 44.5 to Tennessee. Tennessee's a Z team with a 26 defense. Will Levis looked pretty good last week against Tennessee. Yeah, they beat Houston 33-27. So I watched the Lions Houston because that's the only time I've ever seen Houston play. They have this great defense. Where did it go? You give up 26 to the Lions. You give up 33 to Tennessee. Yeah, that's why I scratched my head. So Tennessee's putting up points. Washington, they're starting to get a little tired, but they've had a real tough schedule. They've had to play Pitt, Philly, and I think Baltimore or something. I know they played all three of those. So, yeah, their record's a little bit, but that's a killer schedule. Philly, Pitt, and Baltimore. That's some serious shit there. So Washington, they're still an over team and a 23 defense, and Daniels looks great. They're 10-2 in a teaser. Tennessee's a Z team, 26 defense. I don't know. I'm looking for points in this game because I think Washington will score. Tennessee doesn't have much defense. But I think Tennessee showed me last week they can score. The question is, was it a fluke? But it was a pretty good defense in Houston at Houston. So let's look for points there. Minnesota 3.5 and 45 to Arizona. Arizona lost 16-6 to Seattle last week. What the fuck? Arizona's an under team, 22 defense. Kyler Murray. Minnesota's an A team with an 18 defense and Darnold. And they are 25-3 in a teaser if we go back through last year. I know we really can't because of Darnold not being there, but it's the same coach and pretty much Justin Jefferson in the same system. So I'm gonna allow the 25-3 into the conversation. San Diego won 47.5 to Atlanta. San Diego is a B team with a killer defense, 16 defense. Herbert is like 15 touchdowns and 1 interception. As far as I can see, Bosa and Khalil Mack are playing. Atlanta, they still got Kirk Cousins, don't they? E team with the 25 defense. Herbert against Cousins. The teasers in this, San Diego this year, 4-0 is a road favorite, 10-1 overall. Play against Atlanta 9-2, and they're also play against. San Diego is also 7-0 as a road favorite the last 2 years. I know Harbaugh wasn't there, but Herbert was. Still 7-0 at a road. So they're a very good road favorite. The line's cheap at 1, and Atlanta's got Kirk Cousins, so he's going to get company today from Bosa and Khalil Mack. Just too much defense from San Diego, this 16 defense. And the line's so cheap. Now, I had Atlanta -3 just because they were at home, and I thought they'd be favored, and then I'd lock San Diego. So that's how close we are to lock number 8, was getting them as Atlanta as the favorite, because I knew Kirk Cousins. There's no way they're going to win the game. So it's kind of an almost lock, but it's definitely the defense is just too strong on San Diego. Atlanta is going against this defense. Forget about it. Houston, Jacksonville. Oh my God, this is really a game, huh? Houston 3.5, 43.5. There's a 43.5, 44. Houston an under team, 22 defense. Although Tennessee lit them up for 30 something. Stroud, a lot of interceptions. Jacksonville, Z team, 29 defense. Trevor Lawrence is possible will play. Probably he'll play. Who cares? He sucks. Houston 10-2 this year. Play against Road Dog. Jacksonville 10-1. Play against Houston as a home favorite 10-2. So there's a lot of things. Houston's good. The game's in Jacksonville. They could easily win because Houston doesn't. I'm not buying their 22 defense. And they got a lot of injuries I'm seeing. We got Tampa Bay 646.5. To Carolina. Now, here's the puzzlement. Tampa's an over team with the 25. I don't know what Carolina is. They scored 27 on Kansas City, and Steve Young looked almost normal. 31 defense, however, that didn't go away. So you got Baker against Young. Tampa Bay's 9-2 this year, 25-5 overall, and play against Carolina 24-4. So you've got the worst team in a teaser against a good team in it, not the best, but a good team in a teaser. So, Tampa Bay should win the game, but they got some defensive injuries. They did get Mike Evans back. Now, Carolina puts up 27 on a really good KC defense. So I don't know. I'm confused. Now, like I said, the coach said, we're done babying Steve Young. It's only been 2 years. We're going to let him throw the ball down the field. Tampa Bay's got, a lot of injuries on their defense. So I have a feeling Carolina will score something. Tampa Bay will light them up. I'm sure of that. So it's one of these. You can take Tampa. You can take the over. Again, though, we have to see more of Steve Young. If he really is a quarterback, or is it just Kansas City didn't really give a shit last week because it was Carolina and they didn't play. However, Tampa's not really a strong defensive team to do anything. So I'd be careful with that. that Tampa's weak defense. Carolina could maybe they learned how to all of a sudden Steve Young got instructions from Joe Montana or something. I don't know. It's a difficult. Well, you got to see more Carolina. I'm still shocked they're not playing Andy Dalton. The Rams in New Orleans, interesting game. We got the Rams 2.5, 49 to New Orleans. They're both E teams, both with 25 defenses. Stafford against Carr, good matchup. Olavi's playing, Kamara's playing. I'm very surprised by this line. The Rams, I don't know. They're a good, with Cup and with the receivers, they should put up points, but they still don't have a defense. And neither does New Orleans. I don't know what to think with New Orleans. With Carr, with Olavi, they're a good team. They fired the coach, and I think they won last week. They fired the coach, and they didn't play last week. Let's look at the week before. They fired their coach, and they killed Cleveland 35-14. So Cleveland's funny because they beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh and get killed by New Orleans. So New Orleans, I think they play well. They play better at home. I honestly think New Orleans is going to win the game. I think that Stafford's good, but the defense is going to let them down. And New Orleans at home. Now you got a new coach, so you really don't know. It's like the Jets. I don't know what's going on with this. So we have to kind of wait and see. But you can play this game. Philly, Baltimore, 351. Philly an 18 with an 18 defense. A lot of Shaquan Barkley. Baltimore an over team with a 25 defense. They will score on anybody, as they showed you last week, scoring on who the fuck did they play? San Diego. They put up 30 on San Diego. So, yeah, it's on a Monday night, but it's Sunday. The weather's fine. There's no snowstorm or anything there. It's not really that cold there. If I look at the weather, which I did, I don't remember. It's partly cloudy and light wind and 40 miles an hour or 40 degrees. So there's no weather problem. Baltimore and Cincinnati just far enough south that they don't get the 10 degrees that it is here. So look for, again, Baltimore will score on Philly and Philly will score on Baltimore. Hurts and Lamar. Baltimore 10-2 in the teaser this year. Philly 6-1 on the road as a favorite and 9-2 overall. I'll do the teaser stuff in a minute. I kind of forgot a little bit. Buffalo and the Niners. We got Buffalo at 6.5, 44.5. Purdy's still questionable, which means you get Brandon Allen. Boza is out from what I read. And so I'm not sure. Baltimore, there's going to be snow, I believe, and cold in Buffalo, which helps Buffalo. They're used to it. The Niners obviously aren't. The Niners are not an A team right now. They're an 18 with the 24 defense. And without Boza, they're in big trouble. Greenlaw's out. They got a lot of injuries. Buffalo is an A team with a 20 defense. Josh Allen. They're 5-0 at home, 10-1 overall, and 12-3 is the home favorite the last 2 years. So they like playing at home. They're a good home team, and with the snow to be fine. Josh Allen running around. Again, without Boza, is a huge edge to Buffalo here. They're laying 6. They probably should be laying 10, but it's San Francisco, so you got to be careful. But even if Purdy plays, his shoulder's hurting him. I don't know how effective he's going to be. He doesn't look that strong anyway. So definitely like Buffalo here. Even if Purdy plays, yeah, McCaffrey's there, but he's not ready yet. He's not at 100% yet. He's getting better, but he's not. That's my point about preseason. He's not in shape. He's not in football shape, even though he might run 10 miles a day. He's not in shape because you got to take the hit and you got to stop and start and everything else. So if you run a mile, you're not stopping and starting and getting hit and everything. And last but not least, Denver 642 to Cleveland. Cleveland, a W team with a 24 defense. They do have Nick Chubb back, Winston, Denver. Bo Nix looks great. I mean, he was like 0-5 the first couple of weeks, and now he's 16-6. So he's 16-1 throwing touchdowns. So now he's figured that out. He thinks he's back at Oregon. A B team with a 17 defense, a killer defense at home Monday night. Denver's 11-1 this year, and 8-2 is a home favorite. So they're fine. Let's go through the teaser trends. So, well, we already saw Green Bay and KC. Green Bay's 25-5 overall, by the way. Now they're 26-5, and they're 10-1. Now they're 11-1 this year. So this is getting either you're on this team or you're against the weak teams. Seattle play against the Jets is 10-1. We got Pittsburgh is 10-1 this year in a teaser. 7-1 is a road dog, probably the last 2 years. New England is play against 12-0. Play against Indy 12-0, and New England's 9-1 as a home dog. So New England's probably going to win today in teaser world. Washington 10-2 in a teaser this year. Minnesota 25-3. They're the Kings. San Diego 4-0 is a road favorite. 10-1 overall. Play against Atlanta is 9-2, and San Diego is 7-0 as a road favorite. So a lot of trends on San Diego and against Atlanta. And Atlanta, their defense doesn't scare me, and San Diego's does, to tell you the truth. Houston 10-2, play against 10-2, play against Jacksonville 10-1. So this will probably be a 3-point game, would be my guess. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Tampa Bay's 9-2 this year, 25-5 overall the last 2 years. Play against Carolina 24-4. Now Carolina has been covering the last few weeks, so it's skewed it a little bit. It was like 18-0 when we started. Nothing on the Rams in New Orleans. Philly 6-1 on the road and 9-2 overall. Baltimore is 10-2 overall, which only means with the points. So it doesn't really, it's kind of even. It'll probably be a close game. Buffalo 5-0. I assume that's at home. 10-1 overall. 12-3 is a home favorite the last 2 years. And Denver, as I said, 11-1 this year. 8-2 is a home favorite. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. So that's what you have. Again, I just read you the teaser thing. We're not really at the point yet where the teams need the game for the playoffs or the division. I looked at standings. There really isn't. I mean, it's like you got KC, San Diego, and Denver are the wild cards. Pitt and Baltimore, one of them's the wild card. Buffalo all alone, and then Kansas and the AFC South, which sucks every year. So really, it's pretty much set. It's going to be the wild cards, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Denver, San Diego, which is good. They're both really good teams. Detroit. So in the NFC, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. You've got looks like Philly and Washington. Looks like Washington will be the wild card. And then you've got the Atlanta and Tampa in the AFC South, and in the NFC South, the NFC West, you got nobody. You got all four like a game away, and they all got like 5-6 wins. So whoever wins the division will make the playoffs, and it's all bunched in. Frisco's got all the injury, and that's what you got to look at is the injuries. So keep in mind the Lions lost 6-7 guys on defense in the game against Chicago. That's why the Chicago made the comeback. They all got injured. All these, 6, 7 defensive play, every play, boom, guy's injured again. Um, so that's what played. Look at the Niners; they're all injured, and now they're not. They should be 12-0, but no, they got all injured. Um, they started with McCaffrey; he's finally back. Purdy's banged up. Bosa's banged up. Greenlaw's out since the beginning. So you must take into account the injuries, and that's why you need to look at the teams as they are. Now, I was at, where was I? I was at the Toyota dealership. That's where I was. And we're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about gold. And I'm shaking my head about Bitcoin. It's a Ponzi scheme. So one of the salesmen who I talked about gold with says, well, I do have some Bitcoin. And he shows me he's got $50,000. So, well, I only started with 2,000. I bought it several years ago and I just sat and now it's worth 50. But I don't care. I said, well, you should sell it and take your profit and buy gold before it goes up. So you can make another 10 bagger. He goes, well, I don't care if I lose the 50 because it's really only losing 2. Oh, really? What kind of world do you live in when 50 is 50? It is not 2 anymore. You now have 50,000. And don't tell me if you lost 50,000, you wouldn't care. Who are you kidding? Well, you think I'm a fucking moron? You lose 50 grand, you lose 50 grand. So if you have 2 grand and you're at Caesars and you hit and you're playing blackjack and now it's 10 grand, is it still the 2 grand you started with or is it now 10 grand? You better answer it's now 10 grand because it ain't 2 grand anymore. What you win is what you win and it's now your money and now you have to reset. I started with 2 grand, it's up to 10. Now it's 10 grand. And you lose that 10 grand, believe me, you will be like, what the fuck did I just do? I had 10 grand. That's why I quit a winner, because if I get up a couple $1,000s and lose it all back, because I know that's my money. Once you win it, it's yours. It's not anybody else's. That's why I tell you to build your bankroll. When you bet football, build the bankroll. Don't sit there. So he's sitting there. So we're at his desk at Toyota, and he said, "Well, I said, if you lose it, oh, it won't bother me because it's really 2,000." I go, "Really? It kind of looks like 50,000 to me." I said, "Why don't you take 25 of it, and it's still 2,000? You still are up 25, and why don't you go buy 10 ounces of gold, like any normal person would do?" What do you need the Bitcoin? So what are your expectations of Bitcoin now? It's at 95,000. Was it going to go to 200,000? I got oceanfront property here in Detroit. If you think that, even if it does, it's a double and it's not going to be easy. And there's a lot of derivatives now being played into it. So don't say it's like no problem. So sitting there, looking at him going, no, this is the way you play it. This is real money. Take 25. You started with 2. You're still up 23,000, and it can still go back to 50. But in the meantime, you've taken 25 of it and bought gold with it, which is about to go through the roof. So I played Mark McGuire yesterday. I can play him again today if you'd like. And gold's about to go. Gold is very close to going. The dollar is ready to go out. And it's amazing how many people don't understand the dollar's going out. I don't know why. Again, I told you the thing in the sauna where everybody's jumping on me because I'm saying the dollar's worthless. The stock market's about to crash and gold's about to go to 25,000. And one guy's yelling at me, "No, gold doesn't go up in value." And I'm like, "Well, it just went from 1,700 to 2,700. What the fuck is that? Gold's not an investment." "Well, I make $6,000 every 100 it goes up." What do you call that? Like, I'm trying to wonder what kind of world are these people living in? Well, they listen to probably Egon or Alligator, and they say, "Well, gold doesn't go up in value; it's the dollar going down." That's not true. If you have demand, like a Rolex, Why does Rolex go up in value? It's not the dollar going down. Well, partially, but it's the demand for the Rolex. As long as you have demand for an asset, like Mr. Mahomes here, who I like to point to, as long as there's demand for this and the price goes up because of demand. I want it and you want it and more than 50 people want it. So that's why the price goes up. How do you think the mantle's $80,000? It's because demand. So, this is what if you make money in Bitcoin, and that's fine. You got lucky. You didn't get made off, but you're about to get made off. So that's fine. But if that's the point that you made your money in Bitcoin, what's wrong with the profit taking? Because you're still in dollars. You haven't gotten out of this piece of shit that's worth nothing. You're still in monopoly money. So when the monopoly money turns to zero, which is getting very close to, you have this war going on, which looks like it might be coming to an end. Probably Trump said something to Zelensky like, I'm cutting off your funding if you don't end the war. And now Zelensky's like, look, Biden's out, Trump's in. Trump don't want the war. It's bad for business. And that's what Putin and Xi don't want the war because it's bad for business. That's why it's good to have businessmen in charge. What am I going to do? Nuke everybody? And what good will that do? Right? But if we can do business, then that's perfect. And then I noticed Trump trying to bluff tariffs. Well, I'm going to make 100% tariff if you go to the gold-backed currency or you keep de-dollarizing. And I'd be like, fine. We don't want your money because it's worthless anyway. So we don't make anything here. So we buy things here. So why the tariff's only going to hurt your own people? It's not going to hurt China and Russia because they can sell to the rest of Europe and Asia and Africa. So if I'm Russia, I can sell to China and I can sell to Germany and France, and I don't need to sell to America. We're fucked. Our dollar's worthless. They probably don't want the dollar anyway. I would trade in gold and silver. So anyway, so it looks like the war might be ending, which is good news for me and Daria. We can probably go see each other when it's settled down. That's what she's waiting for, really. So it'd be a nice Christmas if I could meet her there. And I'm not afraid of going to Russia. I'd prefer that. I mean, at least with Putin, you know what's going on. So there, you're being wiretapped. Here, you don't. Here, they don't tell you that you're being monitored, but in Russia, you know it. Anyway, so take your profit. That's why in football, I beg you to increase your bankroll. That money's yours, right? If you made $10,000 yesterday, me going 12-0, hitting 5 locks, so you made money. I'm curious what Titus did. And when you make the money, you once you make the money, it's yours, right? So when Titus won 18 grand, it's his money. That don't kid yourself. That's his. It's not the casinos anymore. It's not the couple grand he bet. I think he only bet. I think he bet 200 to win 18 grand because he played an 18 parlay that won. So it's his money. That 18 grand's not Caesar's Palace money. It's his money. It's not the 200. Oh, well, if I lose, I lost 200. No. Now you've got 18,000 and you got to get this through your mind. That's what you want. It's your money. And then you need to invest it in gold and silver because if you throw it in the bank, it'll go to zero. And it's going to happen sooner than later. There's just too much. The debt's too high. All the problems and all these wars are very expensive. The defense contractors are making a fortune selling missiles and rockets and all that all over the place. Um, so keep that in mind. But anytime you make money, it's yours. You get a paycheck, it's your money. It's not, oh well, I lost my paycheck. Yeah, how good do you feel if you did that? No, that's a cardinal rule. It's once it's won, it's your money. I go play poker and I win $1,000. That's my money then. It's not, well, I started with 300 and now I got 1,000. And if I lose it, well, I lost 300. No, 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 no. I got up to 1,000 or 2,000 and I lose it. I lose it. And I feel like shit if I lose it, which is why I quit a winner, is psychologically, that's probably the biggest reason. So if I play 300 and I get up 500, then I start losing and I'm now up 400. I get up and walk away. And the people go, why do you quit a winner? Well, it's all psychological. I keep my confidence. I say I won. Everything's rosy. But if I lose the full 500 I'm up, or whatever, 50,000 or whatever. I'm not up 50,000, but if I do that, I feel like shit for losing my money back to them, because once I win it, it's my money. And that's what people don't understand. They don't know how to win gambling. They like to gamble for the entertainment, but they don't know how to win. If you get up, and you will get up, you get up and leave. You still play it out. So I told the guy with the Bitcoin, play the 25,000 out. And if it goes up, it goes back to 50, take another 25. How high do you think this is? What are you, the dumbest person in the world? Do you think Bitcoin's just going to keep going up? Really? With Larry Fink involved, you think he's going to derivative the fuck out of it. So when it hit 99,000, I heard there was a lot of pushback at 99. It didn't go to 100. Now it went back to 92. Well, who's selling it? Oh, Larry Fink selling derivatives. Yeah, now you're in the derivative world. He's making a ton because he makes, it's not like he sold one Bitcoin. He's probably handles 1,000 Bitcoins with a little bit of money, like they do in gold, right? It's 4%. So it's a couple hundred, handles a couple 100,000 in options and contracts. And that's probably what he's going to do. So we can listen to a little Mark McGuire. Let's look at football news, since it is football day, let's take a look. Did the lines move? It's a weird week because we've already got 4 games played. The JETSs are still 1.5. And they went up to 1.5, 41.5 over Seattle. Cincinnati 3, 46.5 to Pitt. That hasn't moved. Indy 2.5, 42.5. Hasn't moved. Washington 6.5, 45. Really hasn't moved. Nothing startling. Minnesota jumped to 4.45. Obviously, somebody listening here knowing that they're strong in the teaser. 4.45. I don't trust Arizona. Kyler Murray, I just don't trust. Minnesota, that's good defense. 6 points on Seattle, and you're going to do what against Minnesota? Minnesota is still an 8-team defense. You're not doing a lot on them. San Diego 1.5, 47 to Atlanta. That's about the same. Houston 3.5, 45 to Jacksonville. It went up from 43.5. So I would say Trevor Lawrence is playing. Tampa Bay 46.5 to Carolina. Really didn't change. Rams 2.5, 49 to New Orleans. That's about the same. Baltimore 3.51. I know that's the same. Buffalo 6.5, 44.5. That's moved from 6. Brock Purdy, again, this is the Sunday night game. And then Denver is 6 and 42 to Cleveland. That's up from 5.5. Again, Denver's really strong this year. Bo Nix looks very good. The only one who really doesn't look good is Caleb. CJ Stroud doesn't look good. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look good. And, Winston's not that good either. They're making Winston look good. Where am I? All right. Let's see if there's any news. So I'm in this injury tracker on Yahoo. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence is playing. Brock Purdy is questionable. So I don't think Brock Purdy's going to play. Trevor Lawrence sounds like he will. Sprained left shoulder. Now, why is he out? He throws right-handed. This is the problem with running quarterbacks. They keep getting hurt, but there's no replacement. You can lose a running back and you have a pretty decent backup. You can't lose your quarterback. This is the problem with them all running the ball. Wait till Josh Allen gets injured, and then the Buffalo really see, yeah, maybe you need to stop running and taking hits. At least Mahomes slides. He doesn't risk it because he knows how important he is. And Joe Burrow. Brock Purdy, questionable versus Bills. Yeah. All right, the Chargers. Here's their final. Here are the inactives for Week 13. San Diego, 2 offensive linemen, a linebacker, John Batiste, Cam Hart, a cornerback, and Perriman, a linebacker. So 2 defense and a corner, and then 2 O-linemen, which we have no idea if they're starters or backups. Atlanta, the kicker's out. Nobody I know. Pittsburgh, nobody. 1 defensive guy, Highsmith. Cincinnati, Charlie Jones, the old broadcasters playing for Cincy. 2 wide receivers you never heard of. A tight end you never heard of. Houston, never heard. 5 guys on defense. Jacksonville, so Trevor Lawrence is playing. C.J. Beathard's inactive. Otherwise, I don't know these guys. Arizona, I have no idea. Minnesota, never heard of them. Indiana, couple of receivers out. Bunch of nobodies. New England, this talent's so bad. I've never heard of these guys. New England, KJ Osborne's out. I thought he was on Minnesota. And that's it. A guard, a tackle, 2 guards and a tackle. Seattle, 2 safeties and a cornerback, a defensive end and a linebacker. So hurting on defense, I guess, if these guys are starters, which it should highlight. The JETSs, nobody I've ever heard of. Israel Abakadanka. Did he play for Rutgers, I think? That's it. Tennessee, Joshua Kelly, UCLA. I heard of him. He's a running back. Washington, Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback. He's key. Tampa Bay, 2 safeties are out. 2 linebackers are out. Another linebacker's questionable. I thought these were the inactives, and then a cornerback. So if you look at this, you got 3 secondary out and 3 linebackers are out. Carolina, Javalian Clowney, I can't believe he's still playing. Questionable. What are they giving me questionables and calling it that they're out? So Carolina with 2 linebackers and a cornerback and a safety that are out or questionable, I guess. The Rams, Tyler Higbee's out. That's it. New Orleans, nobody we know. I don't see Olave or Kamara. Philadelphia, Darius Slay out. Cornerback, linebacker out. Devontae Smith, questionable with the hamstring. Baltimore, cornerback out. Defensive tackle out. Linebacker, doubtful. Van Noy. The Niners, Nick Bosa out. Greenlaw out. Lenore out. Trent Williams, the tackle out. Yeah, Brock Purdy questionable. Buffalo Kincaid from Utah, the tight end out, really good. Um, Matt Milano has been injured all year anyway. He's questionable. Cleveland, nobody. Denver, nobody. So after reading this, I really, I really like Buffalo a lot more. All right, let's look at. Let's look at college next week. So next week's a very light schedule in college. So let's go through. This is December 6th, so that's uh, Monday to that's Friday. All right. We got Jacksonville State, Western Kentucky, obviously for the Western Kentucky won. That's good. Jacksonville State 358.5 to Western Kentucky. Two solid teams. We'll have to get into the numbers. Army against Tulane. Tulane 4.5, 48 to the Army. Army, did they win yesterday? I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah, they did. They did win. They beat UTSA 29-23. This will be a good game. Army's a tough out. Tulane's a very good team. They murdered Navy 35-0. Boise and Vegas, they've already played. Boise 459.5. You got Gentry, the best running back, going against a very good Vegas team. We've got Miami of Ohio and Ohio in the MAC, and Miami is 2 and 44.5. So G asked me, is Miami of F, Miami, Florida? And I go, well, yeah, but I got to say F because it could be Miami of Ohio. So I got to differentiate. And we would never play Miami of Ohio over. 244.5. Miami of Ohio against Ohio. Interesting here. Probably an under game. Two good defenses. Arizona State and Iowa State. So what? BYU fell apart. Colorado lost to Kansas. Kansas is probably the best team. We got killed by Baylor. These are a lot of good teams here. So Arizona State and Iowa State. This is pretty damn even. Arizona State's actually favored by 2.5 and a total of 51. I don't know. Iowa State, give them credit. They beat Kansas State, who's a very good team, usually. So in the pressure, they had to win. They won. So give Iowa State credit. Probably a live dog here. Texas and Georgia. So Texas, I think, beat Texas A&M 17-7. Georgia beat Texas already 30-15 at Texas. This should be a neutral. Texas is 3-49. We finally get Georgia as a dog. I'm so excited. Boy, I don't have to do much thinking there. Yeah, Georgia's a dog. Yeah, take him. Thank you. Oregon, Penn State. So Ohio State out with 2 losses. Indiana, I don't know. They didn't play Penn State, so I'm a little confused why it's Penn State, not Indiana. Indiana's the better team. Indiana's really getting a break because Oregon will kill Penn State, and then Indiana will only have 1 loss. Penn State will have 2. Ohio State 2. So Indiana should make the playoffs because now you can't say they didn't beat anybody. They beat Michigan. And all of a sudden, Michigan's a pretty good team. They beat Ohio State. So all of a sudden, Indiana beating Michigan, it looks much better than that. Oregon, 3.5 and 49.5. Well, you got to love Oregon here. Jesus. Penn State's a joke anyway. SMU, Clemson, interesting game. SMU 2.5, 55. SMU is so much better than Clemson. It's funny. Clemson, my South Carolina got the W yesterday. I was excited for that. I couldn't believe they were the dog, South Carolina. Anybody that blows out my Vanderbilt team, I gotta like. And then we've got The following week, we got Army Navy, and they're both 1.5 point favorites. If that's the case, I like Army as the dog. Total of 38.5. Not this time. This is not an under game. They are both scoring a lot more. They're throwing the ball. This is not under. So I didn't understand that. So Michigan plants their flag. I don't know why they would do that. Pretty stupid. And then a riot ensues, and then they're using pepper spray, which, according to a few movies, doesn't do anything. It's actually healthy for you. So, what have we learned? When you play a big game like Oklahoma and you beat Alabama, and then you got to go on the road to play at Bobby's house in LSU, you're not winning. And they got killed. And that was a very easy. I didn't even lock it. I should have locked the game. I knew that was going to happen. But I had so many others that were real locks. And then Alabama. See, that's what you wait. You wait for a team like Alabama to lose. The playing Auburn is not really that good. That's where the lock comes in. And you had the right spread. I was a little bit nervous with Indiana, but Purdue was a Z team with a 38 defense just because we were laying 28 down to 22. But I liked that the line went to 29. And I was a little, like, I hope they don't, Purdue might come up and 66-0. And I was like, yeah, there you go. All right. So that's next week's college. So that will help me out a lot because I don't have to do it. And then we'll get the bowl games. And don't remember who was asking about the bowls. Todd, I think. And yeah, I'll have my bowls. It's $100. You get all the bowl games and the playoff games for that. So that'll come out probably the week after Army Navy. They'll probably start the bowl games. And with the 12 teams, you'll have less players getting ready for the NFL draft. But what do you do with Michigan? All they do is get ready for the NFL draft. Like they're anything good. Ohio State, are they going to try? Mbaka and, these guys, are they going to get ready for the draft? This is the problem. So I love it. All the Ohio State players came back to beat Michigan, and they still lost. Unbelievable. So Ohio State will be getting a new coach. You can't lose 4 times to Michigan and still keep your job. So anyway, anything else football? 2 locks going today if you want. www.teaserking.com. You can buy the locks. You can buy the pro class. You can buy the pro picks. If you get the locks, you just get the 2 locks. If you buy the whole NFL, I think 75, you get all the picks. And I've added about 6 picks after studying. It was a hard one. I already won Green Bay. So if you're there, you're going to see Green Bay, Notre Dame, which I already won. I didn't touch Oakland, Kansas City. And then I have my lock with some college. I think I have a lock with, I think Baylor was a big lock with the pro team. And then I played the others. So now if you want, you can trap. So if you have Baylor and you put $10,000 on my lock and you won it, and now you've got the other half, you can trap it. It's a total, so you can play the other way for $5,000 and you can't lose. Well, you can lose, but you can't lose as much, or you can win both if they happen to score now. All right. Let's go through Mark McGuire again in case you missed it. See, I love these. Putin sends chilling warning to Trump. I thought they were buddies. Trump, I really am disliking Trump. I'm not a Trump guy because I don't think Trump's a conservative, looking at, I think he's more hiring George Soros guy to run the treasury. I think he's out of his fucking mind. What is Elon Musk there? Elon Musk isn't anything. So I don't really get what he's doing. God, these people are so loud next door. And you got this one. Explosions reported all over Ukraine. So Russia's just emptying their arsenal and just firing all over Ukraine in retaliation to the UK firing missiles. So why is London firing missiles into Russia? They're not in the war. It's all George Soros. I don't know if he's trying to use up all the weapons or what, but there is no more weapons. If the U.S. wants to go to war with China, we're going to do it with sticks and rocks because we don't have any weapons. And why are we going to war with them? That's never going to happen. We don't have an army anymore. Let's see. See this I see like they're poisoning us, and it's just the high fructose corn syrup and the processed food. That's all it is, which we know, which is we eat vegetables and fruit and meat where they can't really fuck us too badly. That's why we fast. That's why we have Celtic salt and cayenne pepper. All right, let's go to Mark McGuire. God, these people are so loud. Well, let's start with this.
I'm Jessie Hayes, founder of Skinforia Facial Bar and Acne Clinic. I don't think I could have made.
Well, with the first hit off Conley. And for the Yankees now, they've picked up 6 base hits. Mickey Mantle has walked and singled up the middle. He's 1 for 1 this afternoon.
Come on, Mickey.
Strike 1. Pitch out, the throw to first. Not quite in time. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Mickey Mantle. The runner at first is Tony Kubek. Ball 2. 3 balls and 1 strike is the count on Mantle.
They're playing the Milwaukee Braves with Hank Aaron.
Mantle drives in a pair, gets a second hit, runs 1 and 2 off Conley, and it's 7-1 now in favor of the New York Yankees.
All right. Nothing cheers you up more than a Mantle home run. All right. Let's go to Mark McGuire.
Detail of how that works.
So China blindsized bullion bears. This is Friday's class. We'll start here.
Recorded the episode only 2 weeks ago. On the 13th of November, you assessed the useful fool speculators driving up the 2-week sell-off had been sufficiently rinsed. You remember you said it was sufficiently rinsed, and to force a physically driven minimum $150 retracement rally. Now, the very next day, it was on the 14th, gold bottomed, followed by a 182-week rally into last Friday. And now this week has already begun with another smaller pullback. So can you provide our subscribers with an update on what you're expecting this time here?
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Nice to see you, and great to be with everyone again. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's get answers to these questions. I know there's a ton of questions, short term, medium term, longer term. We've got some really interesting. We've got some amazingly novel news, some very powerful news to come up in a little while. But so really, what we're doing when we're asking for these levels, and obviously we'll deal with these shorter term questions first. What this is really an ongoing wholesale market assessment of where the inflection point is into where an increasingly illiquid Western-facing paper gold and silver market pitches up against the increasingly liquid global south facing physical markets. Now, we've simply been tracking this by we've been tracking a by stealth gold price revaluation process, which is evident by the series of higher central banks underpin physical stair steps that is really revealing the Fed's weakening gold price suppression hand. Now, we're going to revisit the central bank supported stair step shortly, but to answer our subscribers' immediate questions, let's look at what to expect. Now, well, here we are again, just exiting the last options gaming of the year. And remember, options gaming is where a massive amount of derivative bets that are basically only underpinned by 4% of value of what they're controlling, or even less in options. What's happening is we're just exiting this last gaming of the year, which is the December contract, which expired on Monday. On Monday. So now this is the single largest delivery month. I say delivery for COMEX because delivery is not always delivery. It's a paper settle market generally, where it shuffles warrants between really this siloed world. But some of the stuff escapes out the back door, which is kind of what we're looking at. And so what we're doing is we're witnessing the Western-facing actors squaring unbacked futures bets against that were made over 12 months ago, up to 12 months ago, being crystallized on Monday and into first notice, which means that everything, all this 96% stuff that basically unbacked fiat gold has to be. If it's going to stay, if it hasn't rolled over to another contract, if it hasn't exited and squared, it has to be fully funded. So therefore, when first notice comes, it requires fully funding them. So really the speculators disappear, and it really shows you where physical market positions are. Now, we're also going to witness bets that being made 12 months further out into December 2025 as well. So Actually, when we assess these wholesale to paper market footprints, this is not actually rocket science. It is simply the inflection point where enough 96% leverage, naked short, momentum driven COMEX supply, whether it's long or short, has overrun the next rising layer of central bank, sovereign, and institutional physical buy levels. Now, so with that in mind, let's pop in to look at the charts, to look at the footprints, and really to put this last 2 weeks' action into context. And as you say, Shane, it identified an almost exact inflection point setup that looked like the momentum-driven May lows. And now we see another one playing out into this Thanksgiving thinned month-end action. So here's the May low that we looked at in our last episode, and why we drew attention to it. In other words, so much undeliverable debt-backed fiat gold had been sold, it had reached the point where agent banks transacting on behalf of the Fed had to take the long side of these naked short actors' bets so as to meet real T+1 delivery obligations, which is why we evidenced a whipsaw $150 short squeeze. And as you know, T+1 is where an FX gold price is locked in for physical delivery, and or a 96% leverage COMEX position is alchemized into a Basel III compliant physical delivery.
All right, let's go to another.
Market.
Now, Andrew, can you expand on the PBOC's initiative? And you were saying to drive up
That's
the price
China.
of gold.
Yeah, Shane. Wrong-footed officials have really once again been snookered by the PBOC. Beijing has just launched a brand new conduit designed to suck in hundreds of tons of Western underpriced bullion to flow into China's industrial base, where it can, with a click of a keystroke, ultimately be weaponized to hedge against a financial or an increasingly likely military war. We've seen potential very large tariffs. We're looking at a very tenuous situation over Taiwan, and a lot of threats. And in fact, we've seen the US really openly preparing for war with China. It cannot be ignored, as well as with Russia. Now, much as the strategically timed launch of the Shanghai Futures Exchange blindsided traders betting against gold, the stealthy BRICS-related initiative to attract more Western priced gold and silver into China, we say silver too, by no coincidence confluences with the anticipated options-related paper gold sell-off. Just looked at it on the charts. Now, the PBOC relaxed Shanghai Gold Exchange rules to allow smaller firms to trade smaller volumes on the SGE physical exchange. Now, this is, I cannot understress how big an initiative this is. It's completely unfactored into current supply-demand assessments. In fact, liquidity providers expect it's going to force physical prices over $500 per ounce higher. By the end of the first quarter of 2025, it's going to force silver to break out into all-time highs. And this is not guesswork. It is simply a matter of looking at the supply-demand fundamentals. And
so silver is going to go to the moon, gold's going to go to the moon, which we already know. Hopefully in the next month or two, which is what we've been waiting for. We know the demand's there, but it's the derivatives that have been keeping the price down, not the demand. That's why when people say it's supply demand, it's not. It's got nothing to do with supply demand, because if it was, it would be gold would be 20,000 an ounce and silver would be about 3,000 an ounce if it was strictly supply and demand, because nobody in the right mind selling. As long as this is going to zero, you're getting off the Titanic, you're getting into the light boat. The only light boat's gold and silver. So who the fuck is selling gold and silver and getting back on the Titanic while the Titanic's full of water sinking into the Atlantic? It's not going to happen. So all the demand is on buying gold, and nobody in their right mind is selling it because you're buying it because the dollar is gone. Why would you sell it to get back into dollars? So you got to be very careful when you do sell it. So my Bitcoin story, when the guy's got 2,000 is now worth 50,000, he needs to get it into gold. Holding it in the Bitcoin means he's holding it in the dollars. He's in trouble, which I tried to warn him about. It's not real money. You're still in dollars. You want to get it into gold to protect it. And he's trying to tell me, oh, I'll be fine if I lose 50,000. And you're like, no, you won't. But you can lie to me, but I don't believe you. It's the same thing there. So you want to get into gold, but you don't want to sell your gold for the fiat bullshit monopoly money that we have. So unless you need to pay a bill or something, or you need food or something, you don't want to sell your gold and silver. Just hold it and let the price run. So he's saying it'll be running very early next year. We'll see. Gold-backed currency, I think I'll talk about in a little bit.
The inability to settle it in the paper markets. Now, to give an idea of scale, there are 55 million. This is not typos. 55 million small and medium-sized enterprises, what they call the SMEs, this is really designed to capture. And they contribute, to give that idea of scale, 50% of all the tax revenue. They produce 60% of all the GDP. They're 70% of technological innovation, and actually a massive 80% of urban employment. Now, these firms are turning, just to give you an idea of scale, on the kind of scale this is. And in fact, the March 2024 published data indicates the number of newly registered enterprises in China reached an average of 23,800 per day. That's not a typo again. This is massive. Now, the scale of this starts to filter in. Now, while the Shanghai Futures Exchange launch was viewed as speculative and everyone was saying, oh, this is just speculative, it was wrongly interpreted as fickle. And as we've been tracking the PBOC, this is stealthy, this is by design. The PBOC deliberately stands behind each incentivized gold buying initiative, underpinning it long enough for the global physical price to actually catch up and anchor a higher central bank buy point and institutional central bank buy point, thereby strategically bolstering their massive state-held, official, and as yet unpublished monetary reserves, gold reserves. Now, the undertaking to protect CNY gold buyers, that's been in place since 2010. We've looked at it before. It led to the PBOC flywheeling, managing the Chinese-facing CNY gold price, sometimes stepping in to tighten up this CNY gold price to ensure that tightening supply to flywheel and just to create a consistent premium to Western price gold. Sometimes it's been as high as $150 odd per ounce over the LBMA gold fixed prices from time to time. Now the gloves are off, and they want every ounce they can swap for weaponized US treasuries and dollars. And this is why each time a Western-facing synthetic range has been breached to the upside, net of the regular wash and rinsing out of the naked long Western traders, which is a factor which is also factored in, the buy stealth gold price revaluation continues to overrun the Fed, who is the only central bank still betting against gold. Now, so basically, every other central bank, every institutional that we know of, are buying gold and are long gold. So really, this is placed them in the crosshairs for an enormous attack. So to illustrate, let's just take a really last look.
So what's happening is, why is the U.S. the only central bank not buying gold? Because they set the price and we don't have any gold. If you had gold, you'd want gold going up. So because we don't have any, because China got all our gold in Fort Knox because we sold it to them, we have no gold. So therefore, we don't want them to all get a higher gold price. So we're the one manipulating the gold price down because we are controlling the price, which is all bullshit because it's not free market supply and demand. It's derivative gold. So because it's all bullshit and you got Bernie Madoff running it, he's trying to keep the price down because basically we don't have any and they do. And he doesn't want China and Russia or we don't want China and Russia to get, 10,000 an ounce gold. It's already 2,700. So wait till it hits 10,000. So that's why we're the only central bank not buying it. Well, I still don't know why we're not buying it. Just the fact that we do control the price, but we should be buying it. It's a huge mistake, and it's why the U.S. is ending very soon. Because our money's worth shit, and if we don't have any gold, we don't have anything real. Oh, Bitcoin's going to be the answer? Bitcoin's not real. Bitcoin's not money. Bitcoin is not anything. It's priced in dollars. So as I say, when gold it's priced in dollars doesn't need to be, it can be its own price. Bitcoin is not worth anything. So you can't value things in Bitcoin. You can value things in gold because gold's real. So that's the point here. All right.
Charles. Now, this brand new SGE initiative trumps, yes, I couldn't resist that, and consolidates the PBOC strategy of opening up the Shanghai Futures Exchange on the 1st of March to enable a war army of citizens to be able to buy physically backed gold futures. However, this end-of-year strategic move, which we've seen here, to remove the very last barriers to entry for millions of gold buyers, and as the anchor of the BRICS de-dollarizing efforts, reaffirms Beijing's strategy of attracting inflows of bullion from the West to bolster BRICS' efforts to take full control of the global physical gold and silver price settlement process. Now, the inflows of bullion to meet this fresh demand has been the driver that has determined the ongoing buy stealth gold price revaluation process, which we've been tracking, which also serves to drive up the value of the PBOC's official and much larger, as yet undisclosed, vast monetary gold reserves, notwithstanding the 3.4 trillion of shadow banking reserves that greatly concerned ex-Treasury official and current advisor to the Council on Foreign Relations, Brad Setzer. We did a couple of episodes about this. Now, this completely unfactored fresh initiative is as pivotal event for gold as when the Shanghai Futures Exchange was launched on the 1st of March, driving this $800 rally. Yes, pullback, but a 550 anchor point. Well, while this rally had attracted naked short momentum longs able to be rinsed out along the way, this unwind, what it's done is really, this is just another wash and rinse cycle, but it's served to balance out where the unwind of 96% leverage COMEX-centric supply, T+1 delivery obligations get crystallized, alchemized into higher physically supported stair steps. That's what we're seeing. This is a massive driver for a significantly higher gold price. So much as when Beijing began openly encouraging wealthy citizens to buy gold in 2010, and then subsequently, if you remember, opening up access to gold investments to less wealthy citizens in 2023, we did episodes about this. Every citizens facing gold buying initiative had been backed by the PBOC, assuring investors that these investments would provide, quote, a return on price appreciation alone. Now, that's quite an undertaking. Now, in a very similar manner to strategically building gold reserves ahead of a new Trump administration, by no coincidence, directly after the Fed's overshoot of the weighting BRICS bids at 25.50, which we consider to be another misstep, they got filled. Beijing tweaked these SJ regulations. Is it a coincidence? I really don't think so. And they opened up this physical gold trading now to millions of smaller traders, previously unable to participate in the PBOC's undertaking to support a rising gold price. Now, as we illustrated in the charts just now, just as the strategic launching of the 1st of March of the Shanghai Futures Exchange attracted hundreds of tons of Western gold and silver bullion to flow into China, one-way trip, because nothing in China ever gets put on the market again for global sale. This was all done at the expense of the West. Notably, just as the Fed was wrong-footed in February, the same thing happened just now in November. And it's unlikely the timing of this PBOC of this offering occurred during the 3-week momentum-driven sell-off, which started on the 30th of October at around $2,800 to the 2,540 November 14th low, which is what we looked at a little while ago. Now, as part of President Xi's well-telegraphed war measures that we drew attention to early in 2023, it is no coincidence that the PBOC has sequentially facilitated these citizens-facing mechanisms, sort of ultimately bolstering the gold reserves of the country. Beijing would be able to commandeer these citizens' gold accumulations in a case of a war. It would be a patriotic thing for them to do. And what they would do, we talked about this, how they would deal with it back in 2023 when we looked at it in closer detail. They would offer them a patriotic lease fee. In other words, provide us your bullion, which is already in the bank, and for the war effort, and that would be linked to a real promise to repay this borrowed bullion alongside alongside providing a lease yield to clients, and they would then repay this back to citizens. Same bars really wouldn't move. Now, I wanted to spend a lot of this week's episode to draw attention to this unfactored BRICS Gold-Back War Preparation Initiative, which under the radar is preparing the China-Russia alliance to back the as yet unnamed Glazier's gold-backed commodity currency into an as yet unknown Trump administration. So while everyone thought that, while there was some snookering going on as far as the Enbridge platform was going to go, the BIS-backed Enbridge platform, they haven't sat back. This is the power. The only way you can power an alternate currency is with gold. And so along the way, so into the buy stealth, BRICS-driven gold price revaluation process, which is ongoing, each of the synthetic to physical market higher stair steps have been anchored following a series of healthy wash and rinse cycles, flushing out and cleansing the 75% momentum-driven, these pillar-to-post, naked, long and short froth as it comes in and out. And we've just witnessed one. I've just witnessed the last one into the rise and the current pullback from the 2,800 first notice high on the 30th of October through to the 2,541 November lows. So first notice, would actually ordinarily be tomorrow, which is Thanksgiving. But clearly, that's a holiday. It'll be so illiquid. We actually feel that they're actually now undertaking to cover those positions.
So gold-backed currency is coming between China and Russia, like now. Even though it wasn't announced on the BRICS summit, it was in the background that they were going to do it. Probably afraid the U.S. would kill everybody in the room, so they didn't announce it. But it's never gone away. Enbridge or whatever these guys say, it's got nothing to do with it. And with this war, Russia needs gold-backed currency as quick as possible. So look for that to happen. And we will see. But that's what we're getting. And he's going to say the $3,000 is the floor. So gold will go to 3,000 very soon. Probably up another 5 to 3,500, like you said, the first quarter, January, February. It won't matter if the war ends or not. That's not why gold goes up. People are saying, oh, the war, peace talks. That doesn't affect gold. The only thing that affects gold is the derivative price. The dollar affects gold. This being worthless is what affects the gold price, because this is worthless. Oh, where's my other one? Where's my precious? Where's my top left? No. Oh, there it is. So the only thing affecting gold is this monopoly money. That's why we buy gold, because this is worthless. It doesn't matter about a war. It doesn't matter if there's a peace talk. It matters is this is still being used, and they're still printing it to death, and they're still paying the debt with it, and the treasuries and all the other shit that they pay with it. They are printing way too much dollars, which is why we are buying gold, because the dollar is going to zero. It's got nothing to do with all the bullshit they talk about. So don't, when you hear, Biden says it, or Putin says this, or Trump says this, it's got nothing to do with it. Trump can't fix. The only way he fixes this, and the only way the euros fix that, so the only way this gets fixed is to back it by gold. And we win either way, because if they do that, the gold price goes up. And if they don't do it, the gold price goes up. The gold price is going way up. So at the end of the day, we win. All right. Let's a little bit more of this. Let's first look at any line movements. It's 12:51, so you got 10 minutes. Well, you got late games. The JETS's 1.5, 41. I don't think that's moved. Cincy 3, 46. I don't think that's moved. New England 4.5, 41.5. 2.5. Let's try that again. Indy 2.5, 41.5. Hasn't moved. Washington 6.45. Not really. Minnesota 3.5 and 45. Nothing really. San Diego is 1 and 47 to Atlanta. Houston 3.5, 45 to Jacksonville. Tampa's gone to 6.5, 46 to Carolina. The Rams 2.5, 49 to New Orleans. Baltimore 3.51 to Philly. Buffalo is 6.5, 44.5 to Frisco. And Denver is 6.42 to Cleveland. So keep your eye on Brock Purdy, I guess, is the only thing to watch. He'll probably try to play. In other words, he's going to get his shoulders shot up, and then he won't be able to, how good's he going to be anyway? Very tough game. Buffalo at home, in the cold, in the snow, against the Niners. So keep your eye on that. As far as I know, Trevor Lawrence is starting. Who gives a shit? So that's the updated line again. So the 4 o'clock games, we keep an eye on it. So 4 o'clock games, you got Tampa, Carolina, you got the Rams in New Orleans, you got Baltimore, Philly, and that's it. And then the night game is Buffalo, Frisco, and then Monday night's Denver, Cleveland. So that be that. Anybody email me questions, comments, or money? No. All right. So let's watch the end of Mark McGuire, and then I'm going to have lunch.
Those positions now, or a day ahead of time. Now, what's becoming clearer, though, is that China has, through their secretive shadow banking operations, they've been stealthily converting a large percentage of the hidden over 3 trillion of largely dollar foreign exchange holdings into physical gold. Now, once this is ultimately revealed, price of gold will far exceed our liquidity provider's 3,000 per ounce 2024 estimate, likely placing this as a floor to rally off. Now, if it is needed to be invoked, the nuclear option is for the Sino-Russian alliance to openly revalue their gold reserves, which, to avoid a related interconnected currency breakdown in the other global foreign exchange crosses, would trigger every other global central bank to also have to revalue their central bank gold reserves, a process that could be done really with a click of a mouse. And again, we've done episodes in more detail of how that works. So basically, in summary, the cartel is increasingly constrained into a tighter and tighter physically supported paper range. They dare not uncover.
The cartel's JP Morgan, the US and London, just FYI.
Really competing, rising central bank delivery obligations they just cannot offset in the paper market. And that's pretty much what we're witnessing now.
All right, Andrew, you briefly mentioned silver earlier, and I put my seatbelt on, but what are you seeing for our silver fans, our silver stackers out there in the community?
Yes, and you will need your seatbelt on.
Hey, Todd.
Obviously, the problem with silver is, unlike gold, it's not yet been formally reclassified.
Thank you, Todd.
As a first-tier asset class, which
you're welcome.
Really is. However, the relaxing of the SGE rules is also designed to attract large silver bullion flows into China to meet industrial demand. Now, while in March gold was in the PBOC's crosshead, China's industrial military base is massively short of silver supply. They don't have enough silver supply to meet its requirements. And by incentivizing millions of smaller investors, that's millions of SMEs, as they're classified, to buy silver, it will attract global supply, draining underpriced silver, currently facing a 4-year massive supply deficit. Now, while there is a commodity element to silver is classified as money, which is why, unlike a commodity, it trades as a foreign exchange cross, where you're long silver, short the dollar, or long gold, short silver. It's one way or the other, or euro, or pound, or whatever it might be. This, because it's money, it will also put silver into the revaluation stair steps, just as it did in gold from March. So at the margin, this fresh demand will be the next catalyst to drive a series of further higher physically driven stair steps, this time also revaluing silver. This will begin to bullishly impact the current bearishly skewed option structures which we've just experienced, which are so divergent from the real true supply-demand fundamentals that really it's why people scratch their heads and look, how can it possibly? Yes, okay, there was support at $30, but goodness me, I mean, silver should be in excess of 50.
That's
now,
a 500. What are you talking about?
Actually, a real supply-demand silver price since silver was fractionalized and diluted to be traded on the COMEX over 50 years ago.
So what did he just say? There's no supply demand price of silver, meaning it's all derivative paper price. It's all options. It's Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. That's my point. It is not supply and demand because nobody's selling it. It's just being bought and bought and bought, which would lead to much higher prices because they're both very limited, gold and silver. So if we get to a physical free market price, that's where I'm getting at 2,000, 3,000 for silver and 20,000 for gold if you let it go to free market. Because how can you explain $100,000 Rolex and $100,000 Montana rookie and $100,000 Rice rookie and 2,700 in gold? Does that make any sense to you? Gold's far more limited than those. How the fuck can it possibly only be $30? So this is why understand you should buy as much as you can, but you're going to wait a little bit before it hits $1,000 an ounce. Keep that in mind. So that's where it's heading, but you can't be like Luke and get all nervous and go, when's it going up? When's it going up? When's it going up? Now he's probably joking, but that's the point of it. You can't, you just know it's going to the moon, but you can't, because we're printing it all comes back to this is the iceberg. This is going and hit the iceberg and the water's coming in. They keep printing this. Is the water coming in? So we've hit the iceberg and the water is coming into the Titanic, going to sink this. And you cannot stop the water from coming in, just like they couldn't in the Titanic. Real quick, Todd, you're welcome. 2 8-team teasers. The overs were right in front of you. It was a great day. And so was the Ohio State under. That one I actually did give out, but I didn't want to give it as free because it would have lost. So maybe we'll call it not free and it'll win. But yeah, Baylor and and Texas Tech. And I had a lot more games than over-unders, but yeah, those two. And then the Ohio State under was a joke. That's exactly what you look for. Great defense with no quarterback. Perfect under. All right, let me just finish this up, but you're welcome, Todd.
Silver being sucked out of above ground stocks into a 40-year supply deficit now, what is that price? No one exactly knows, but every well-connected liquidity provider that we face say it has to be a three-figure price. It has to be. That's why every single bullion bank is long both gold and silver for their own book. We see this SGE incentive as the pivotal inflection point for silver's real physical price to emerge. So I guess, guys, really, the only question that remains is how much physical gold?
Not enough. So that's Mark McGuire. Actually, I think there was a few other things that I had. Mickey, Putin launches massive missile attacks, 1 million Ukrainians in darkness. So they hit the power plants. So Zelensky turned off a lot of the power plants. So there's a lot of Ukrainians without power and it's cold there. So that's terrible. Rub this to destroy wrinkles from our doctor. This is castor oil, of course. So it's good for everything. Egon explains the gold standard.
First, understanding of risk and protecting risk, finding the best asset to preserve wealth, which is, of course, gold. Throughout history, physical gold was the only money that has survived in history, as you know. It's the only money that has maintained stable purchasing power in history. So it's such a simple investment. Gold never goes up. It's always paper money that goes down. You all know that. I'm speaking to the wrong people here, because you all know this. You're all gold experts. You've probably been into to mining stocks or gold for a long time. The sad thing is, for a lot of you, the mining stocks are, of course, been a lot tougher to make money in physical gold. But the simple reason, the XAU is not higher now than it was launched in the late 1980s. We think mining stocks are going to come back in a major way. But for us, who are really experts in wealth preservation, we don't invest in the stocks. And we want to keep outside the banking system the physical gold that you have direct access to yourself.
Now,
If you want a straightforward path to your goals,
the only question I have is gold does go up in value. So I don't know why he says that, because it definitely goes up in value based on demand. So if everybody wants gold and it's $3,000 an ounce, they're going to drive the price to $4,000 an ounce. So gold can go up. It is the dollar going down, so it takes more dollars to buy the gold. We get that, but gold does go up in value like any other asset, like a Rolex, like a mantle card. Todd, Kansas surprised me. They went flat, but Baylor made up the total. Well, they had played Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado, so they were due for a flat. And then you just get into the matchups. Can Baylor stop the run better? Now, I thought Colorado could stop the run after they played UCF, but that's really what it is. But yeah, I was happy to see the halftime score. I think it was like 42-14 at half. So yeah, Baylor's just but that's why I locked it, because I know Baylor is a motherfucker. They'll score over 40 points a game, and I knew Kansas would give me 20. I only needed 50 something. So that's kind of the art of it, right? I know both teams are scoring with terrible defenses. So Kansas, they played 3 great games. I hit them against BYU and I hit them against Colorado. So, that's why I sometimes play the total, because I don't want to fuck with Baylor at home, but I know it's going to be high scoring, so that's really the key to it. Just like I didn't fuck with Indiana total. I knew Indiana minus 22 was gold, as Notre Dame -1, Arizona State -2. Those were gold, so I didn't need to total it. I only total really when I just don't know who's going to win, like Michigan and Ohio State. Something just told me I can't play Ohio State. It's too many points in that rivalry. So I went to and I couldn't play Michigan. So it was the total play. And I just could see that 2 great defenses, it was going to be low scoring. I didn't think 13-10, but Michigan threw the interception at the 1-yard line. Ohio State missed 2 field goals. So that would have made it really 20-16 at 36, but we still were under 49. But as it turns out, it stayed under. It didn't go to overtime like it did that one year and fucked me when they were like, the score was like 17-14. I'm under 55, and they go to overtime, and everybody scores touchdowns in overtime for some reason. But that's the point. So, it's you prefer playing. My locks today are totals. You just don't know the games, but you know the totals. They'll be high scoring, but you don't know who will win it. Like Green Bay, Miami. I didn't know that Green Bay was going to blow them out, but I knew it would be high scoring. Now we got there near the end, but we got there. And KC, Oakland, I thought would be low scoring. That was just way too many points. So you got to look at the line. Like Notre Dame -7 down to 1 is gold. Now, if Notre Dame was 14, I wouldn't have blocked it. I don't know if I'd have probably looked for over under. Like I did with Army and UTSA. UTSA's been playing great, scoring a lot, but I didn't want to fuck with Army there, so I went over instead of taking UTSA in 13, and they were good. They lost by 5, but that's what you get. Some of them you look for that, and some. Sometimes it's the team, and sometimes it's the total. Oh, I don't know, but it'll be high scoring or low scoring, and you go from there. Anyway, I think that's about it. So U.S. understands confess the collapse of the dollar. Trump threatens the BRICS countries to not de-dollarize, but you got them all sanctioned. You've left Russia no choice because they're sanctioned. They can't use the SWIFT system. They can't deal in U.S. What do you want Russia to do? And he keeps threatening with tariffs. Well, that's not going to work. So don't be afraid. Trump's going to tariffs. They're all laughing because the dollar's worthless. They probably don't want to trade with America because that, the value of the dollar dropping to nothing. Why do I want to take it? So you'll start seeing gold a little bit more. That's why people are running into Bitcoin, but it's controlled by Larry Fink, so get the fuck out. And remember, if you've got 2,000 in Bitcoin and now you got 50, you've got 50, not 2. And if you lose 50, don't tell me, oh, I'll be fine because it's really 2. No, it's 50. So don't start thinking that 50's 2. I mean, you can't be this stupid. I mean, that's bullshit. It's what it is now. It's the cost. So if you bought a stock at $10, it's now at $50. It's $50. It's not, well, I only paid $10 for it. No, it's $50. So if you multiply it out, so let's say I bought I paid $2,000 on a $20 stock. It's now 50. It's now worth 50,000. It's 50,000. That's your money. So how do you justify that it's only the 2,000 you started with, not that it's worth 50 now? Okay, these are really stupid people if that's the thinking. But it's your money. It's your money. So when it goes from 2 to 50, it's yours. Anyway, I told you the Sana story where nobody understands paper gold is derivative gold is not real and it's not free market and nobody understands that. So, oh well, nothing I can do. All right, let's go watch some football. 2 locks today. I played 7 or 8 games. Again, it's short because we've already seen 4 games go, and we got a Monday night and a Sunday night. So there's not that much action today. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Well, maybe 6 games at 1, and then 2 or 3 at 4, and 1 a game tonight. All right, everybody, have a good day. Be relaxed. Bobby's team won. Well, I told you Bobby's team was going to win because there's no way in the world Oklahoma could possibly get up after beating Alabama, that they would be flat. You could have teased it from 7-1. Why I didn't lock that one is I already had 5 locks, so it was hard to lock, another one. But yeah, that to me was a no-brainer, and I would have locked Penn State once Ohio State lost, made Penn State gold, and Indiana was gold. So that's you got to watch. That's why I add games as we're going. So today, if there's a certain win or a certain loss, I might add something to tonight or Monday night or something, depending on what happens. Anyway, have a good day. Good luck. www.teaserking.com. And off we go. I do take tips if I made you guys a lot of money. It's perfectly polite to tip me. All right. Thanks very much. Have a good day. Good luck.